Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Steven and welcome back. Alright, in this video I want to talk about um, you know, being quote unquote pro-black but dating interracially, especially dating in particular white people, right? Especially other races too, but especially white people. I want to kind of talk about that, and also I want to use Shannon Sharpe as sort of like a starting point or a jumping off point for this topic too. I recently found out that Shannon Sharpe, was or is in an interracial relationship, and from what I've heard, is this isn't his first time either. Um, but before I really get into this video, I just want to give a few disclaimers. All right, one, you know, who Shannon Sharpe dates is ultimately his business. I'm not trying to police who he dates. All right, I'm not really. Trust me, I'm really not trying to do that. All right. Also, I don't have anything against Shannon Sharpe. I think Shannon Sharpe is actually, at least from what I've seen, a really cool dude. And someone who has like a, good mindset, someone who uses his platform for a good purpose, which is to advocate for black people, right? But I do think this is a topic that kind of is worth exploring and sort of needs to be explored, right? Because I think we do kind of need to have somewhat of a standard, like, of what we as a community will accept and what we as a community will not accept, right? So let's get into this. All right, so let me explain kind of like where I'm coming from and my personal viewpoints on, being quote unquote pro-black and dating interracially, especially white folk, right? All right, do I think it is possible for a black person to be pro-black but date white people? Ultimately, I think it is possible, but I don't think it is I don't think that should be the standard. I don't think we should consider that to be normal. I think that that should be the extreme exception at best, but not like, oh yeah, like, it's not something that we should expect, right? If you're talking to pro-black stuff, we kind of should expect you to be with someone who is a part of the community, right? I don't think that is a bad thing, you know. Um, also, do I think that Shannon Sharpe is a coon? I personally don't. Based on what I've seen, I don't think that Shannon Sharpe is a coon. Perhaps, misguided, perhaps doesn't really know. I don't know. Perhaps it's not perhaps fully woke, maybe. Kind of like you in that state where you're kind of like woke, kind of like half woke, half asleep type thing, Um, I think for Shannon Sharpe, he may be one of those type of men, black men especially, who kind of feels like, oh, the racism and white supremacy is, more so exclusive to white men. Like they're the ones who are doing it, which of course they are, they are, but white women participate in white supremacy too. And that's something that I think that some folks seem to ignore, especially some black men seem to ignore, like, they play a part in this. Trust me, if white women did not play a part in white supremacy, it wouldn't be able to exist. Just think about it. If white women said, okay, if all white women as a collective said that, hey, we're cutting ties with white men, we're going to go over here with black folks. If all of them said that, white supremacy would be in trouble. It would be struggling to exist. It probably would not exist that much at all. Because who's going to be birthing the white men? And of course the white people in general, but especially the white men who help perpetuate this, right? Who's going to be raising them, right? The white, race, at least in this particular setting, would just sort of just blend into blackness, or like blend into being some like, beige or like racially ambiguous type thing, So trust me, like white women They play a role in it, right? They play a vital role in white supremacy, right? Just like black women play a vital role in maintaining the black community. As I've said plenty of times, if black women, rather, if black women as a collective give up on the black community and just say fuck it, I'm tired of this shit, as a collective, and just leave. Like, I'm leaving too. This community gonna go to straight up hell if black women end up like leaving. We already in shambles. Like, honestly, we already have enough issues as it is. But once black women stop caring, that's when we're really in trouble then. You're right. And it's kind of like the same thing with white folks, right? If white women stopped caring and just left, white supremacy would be done, But, folks don't want to see it that way for some reason, right? Folks want to be like, oh, Rebecca loves me, Rebecca down for me. All that stuff, right? And, perhaps it may be like that on at least maybe an individual level, but oftentimes when these black dudes get caught up in some stuff or want, folks to support their projects and things like that, they be coming to black folks, and especially black women. And I can understand some black women feeling some type of way about this. Like, the Nate Parker film, Birth of a Nation, right? People were blaming black women for the film flopping. But you notice they didn't blame white women for the film flopping or, tanking at the box office, which I don't really think it tanked at the box office, though. But let's just say that it did, right? We can argue whether yes or no, but let's say that it did, though. People did not expect white folks to support that film, even though Nate Parker has a white wife, right? But he knows not to expect anything from the community of his white wife. Flip side, he does feel like he is entitled to some black support, or at least some people may feel like he is entitled to some black support, especially some black female support, right? But where does this sense of entitlement come from? Folks be feeling entitled and ain't done little as shit for the community, and just be feeling entitled to some, support, especially from black women. Like, black women just supposed to be supporting anybody and anything, and just supposed to accept anything. Like, people think that black people in general are supposed to accept anything, but people especially feel like black women are supposed to accept just anything, especially if you are a dark-skinned black woman. They'll especially think that you are supposed to accept anything, right? You should just be happy someone is acknowledging you. You should be happy, That's the message that is being sent. At least that's how I see it, And some people, probably some black men who comment, may feel like, oh, well, what about black women who be talking pro-black and dating white men, right? And for that, I don't think that they should be doing it either. I don't. However, I feel like when it's black men who do it, it causes more confusion for some reason, because I think the reoccurring theme that is shown time and time again is like, oh, black men don't seem to really want black women. Like, it's like, let me explain it. When black women see it, they tend to get emotional about it, more so than black men, possibly because, they've seen it so many times, also because they're a woman, no shade, of course. Women tend to be, a bit more emotional about these sort of things, and also the beauty, like, so much is placed on women and them, like women and beauty, like so much is placed on that, and sometimes black women kind of feel like, well, like some may kind of get the message like, oh, black men don't want us, So I think when you see that, oh, the pro-black dude with the white woman, it just kind of helps perpetuate that message, thus that drama, trauma, and all that stuff in the community. And also, I do kind of hold black men to a higher standard in this particular situation, because black men are supposed to be setting the tone for the community, right? And you know, the black woman gonna be like, oh well, if you do it, I should be able to do it, all right? Because oftentimes women kind of look to men to sort of set the tone, right? Men typically don't look for women to set the tone, you know, at least not in a situation like this, right? As far as like being the leaders of the community, right? We look for men to do that, right? And this is sort of part of being like a patriarch, right? Setting the tone for the community and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So if we see this black men, black men setting the tone for this to be acceptable, then black women are going to feel like this is acceptable and follow lead to an extent. But hey, think about it like this: like, we hold women to a higher standard when it comes to raising and rearing children, right? We don't hold women to the same standards that we hold men to when it comes to raising children, right? We expect more from a woman when it comes to raising children, right? Just like we expect more, or we should expect more from men when it comes to setting the tone for the community, right? It's not necessarily quote unquote fair. I guess, I don't know if that needs a quote unquote, but I know it's not necessarily fair, but that's just how it is, right? That's just the reality of the situation, because men and women are not equal. One's not better than the other, but they are not equal. They're not 100% congruent, of course. Like, there's differences between men and women, right? Not a bad thing, but there's differences, right? Just like some things we're going to expect more from a man than a woman, and vice versa. Or some things we're going to expect more from a woman than a man, right? But to bring it back to Shannon Sharpe for a moment, do I personally think that Shannon Sharpe is like a straight up coon, a straight up wild ass coon on the loose? No, I don't. I think Shannon Sharpe ultimately has the right mentality, but it's a slightly a bit warped. It could be a little bit warped, right? Because if he was a coon, he would be up here acting like Jason Whitlock, right? Shoot, or like Charles Barkley, or like Stephen A. Smith. He ain't acting like that, all right? Thankfully, he ain't, just done lost his mind when he went to Rebecca, all right? Because some dudes, I don't know, I don't know what's up, but they be getting strung out. And just straight up, just fantastic. I tell you, shit. But I do want to speak on something that I heard. I don't know if this is 100% true or whatnot. I think it is, though. But I heard that Shannon Sharpe was accused of rape. Guess which race the woman was who accused him? Guess his accuser's race. His accuser was a white woman. And we have seen that theme play out so many times in history. Throughout our times in the Americas, right? A black man being accused of raping a white woman. Right? Nate Parker also got caught up in that, too. But like they still they still got them Rebecca, they got them Becky's, So I guess they were able to just individualize those instances, with those white women, right? But I wonder if they were able to individualize black women, right? I wonder, do they view black women as a collective in a negative way? That's something to think about, you know, because sometimes we could be so forgiving to, certain groups of people, but then when it comes to our own, it's like we just, the forgiveness just ain't there. It's like we can't just forgive and forget. It's just like, oh, you just, especially when it comes to black women and black women messing up. It's just like there's no redemption for black women when they mess up. Don't let black women have done something that is legitimately like a mess up. Like, don't let them have done something that was legitimately wrong, right? Then you won't hear the end of it, right? Like, oh, these black women, you know. um, and also Shannon Sharpe, he grew up, I believe, in like a town called Glenview, not Glenview, Glenville in Georgia, and he's kind of like spoken a little bit about his experiences. And from what he spoke about, it seemed like, he has experienced some racism. Maybe white women may have been nice to him. I don't see that being true, because that's the thing too. It's like sometimes the main dudes to be in interracial relationships have kind of like have been like, victims and experienced like, bigotry in some type of a way, right? And it's kind of weird because it's like, well, aren't those the same people who were like, calling you, all types of messed up names, saying that you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't participate in this, you can't participate in that, etc., right? But for some reason, it's just like, they don't really seem to make the connection with the white woman and the white man, right? I don't know why, perhaps, again, perhaps it's on the individual level with these guys, where it's like, well, this particular white woman, like, she down for me, Rebecca down for me, I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I'm not them, But something that I think should be asked is, how do black women feel about this, right? Because I think that question doesn't come up enough, right? I don't think people really want the answer to that question. One, because they might not care about what black women think, but also because they might not want to know what black women think because they know that they're not going to agree to it, right? But yeah, it's kind of like interesting. I could see where some black women, I could see where black women who would not agree with this, where they're coming from with it. I can understand that, because it's just, for them, it's just like, oh, they, some black women may feel like, oh, this person just seems like would be for them a great catch almost, like, and it's like, oh, we kind of, the black women feel like, oh, we just lost another one, right? And it's a bit strange because it's like you kind of like doing, the quote unquote pro-black stuff, but it's like, does pro-blackness just extend to just, black men, or does it extend to black people, both men and women, and as well, children too, I don't know, but pro-blackness should extend to black people as a whole, both men, women, and children, not just black men. Because if it does, it's like, what point, like, why should black women support that? If it don't benefit them, why would they support that? Why should they support that? Just like, why should we support folks who don't support us? Like, why? Like, it just don't make no sense. It's just like, what do black women kind of get out of that if they ain't being uplifted in some type of way, right? If they're not benefiting from it in some type of a way. right? And some people are going to argue, well, they're benefiting from it because, you know, he's speaking out against police brutality, right? Which kind of is more so a black man's issue. But of course, because it's a black man's issue, it becomes a black community issue, right? Um, you know, perhaps if Shannon Sharpe speaks on some issues that affect more so black women specifically, perhaps, you know, some black women may be feeling like, okay, perhaps we can, like, you know, let up on him and not be so hard on him if he was like really speaking truth to power, you know, calling out, you know, folks in the community who do fucked up shit to black women or say fucked up shit to black women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't see that happening, right? I really just don't see that happening, you know. It could happen, but I just don't see that happening. I see like Shannon Sharpe sort of just kind of like sticking to topics that are perhaps more so black community topics, which kind of circle back to black men, you know. You know, and by the way, you know, black women do support, you know, black men when it comes to police brutality, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, another point that I want to bring up before I end this video. Do you think that people who, particularly pro-black people, you know, black folks, you know, who are in interracial relationships with white people, do you think that they'll be able to speak, you know, strong as they should against white people? Or do you think they might be like more so like, oh, you know, not all white people on that tip, right? Because I feel like, you know, it sort of does it it makes you a bit more susceptible to white fragility. And also you're like with a white person every single day, right? So it's like, or seemingly every single day, right? They're part of your daily life. They're part of your life, right? So you're able to see white people in perhaps a different way, right? And I think that that may kind of like mess with you mentally as far as like being able to view white people as, you know, who they truly are as far as the collective, you know, is concerned, who they truly are. Because you're looking at your spouse, girlfriend, whoever, like, oh, you know, she's like such a great person. And I'm sure there's other white people out here who are just like her, right? You know? Um, but the problem is those white people aren't doing enough to combat the racist KKK neo-Nazi types of white people, right? And also notice that when the neo-Nazis and the KKK type of white people, when they want to be right? When they want to be white, and pro-white supremacy, do you see them up on the stage and do you see them with Lakeisha? Do you see these white men with like Lakeisha, Laquana, Laquita? No, you don't. You do not see that. They make sure to be with Gretchen, Tamara, um, Tammy, Rebecca. You know, they make sure to be with their women because they know that that's what they need to be about. They can't be being with Laquita, Laquana, um, Guadalupe, Marisol, Ling May, right? They can't do that. They know better than to do that because it's going to be sending conflicting messages, right? And plus, what about the offspring and the children too, right? It's like their offspring are not perpetuating white supremacy if they were to get with those women, right? It would be perpetuating something else. I don't know what, but not white supremacy though, right? So I think that's something to think about too, you know, because when these men get with, you know, especially the men, of course the women too, but I'm more so concentrating on the men because, as I said, you know, the black men are setting the tone, you know. But when they get with these women and have children with these women, right? these children do come into the community, right? Because it's like they go out, some of these men, pro-black men sometimes, you know, as well as just black men in general, but they go outside in the community to have their children, you know, but then bring their children back into the community, the black community, right? And thus the children perpetuate colorism, right? Especially the females, you know, perpetuate colorism. And as if we don't have enough problems, right? I just don't think that we should be continuing to perpetuate colorism, right? I think we need to be bringing folks to blackness. I think we need to be bringing black folks to blackness, right? Like, I did a whole video about this, right? Where, like, I kind of went in on light-skinned and mixed race folks who want to go outside the community and have children with white folks and have white passing kids, and then want to bring them back into the community and act like we just supposed to accept it, right? I did a whole video about that. And I think pretty much the concept is pretty much congruent, right? The concept is pretty much the same. Like, you can't be going outside the community, you know, claiming pro-blackness, going outside the community and having kids and bringing them back into the community, perpetuating colorism. That just ain't cool. It's just not what you're supposed to be doing. You know, really, you just need to be bringing folks to blackness. Bringing the black folks to blackness. You know, like bringing, I think, like, well, again, I think that's more so, that advice might be more so for the light-skinned and white-passing black people, honestly. But I was just going to say, like, oh, basically those folks, the light-skinned and white-passing, mixed-race black folks, etc., they need to be coming, if they want to be a part of the community, they need to be coming towards blackness, right? Not away from it, then coming towards it when you think you can bring your kids in, right? But another video, another story for another day, right? But for this video, I'm going to bring it to a close, you know, because I think I've gone on for long enough. You know, it's a topic that is definitely worth exploring. It's a topic that I think that needs to be explored, right? And we need to get opinions about it, because I think that it's something that honestly should be just really straightforward and shouldn't be an issue. I think that, you know, we should expect pro-black men as well as pro-black women, but especially pro-black men, to be with black women. We should expect that, and vice versa for the women, you know. And as far as Shannon Sharpe is concerned, you know, I ain't got no, you know, me personally, I don't have any, like, you know, hate or animosity towards Shannon Sharpe, you know. Personally, you know, keep, you know, Shannon Sharpe, you know, keep, you know, being down for your people and advocating, using your platform for your people, you know. Keep on doing that, you know. And, you know, I, you know, wish you the best, right? I'm pretty sure he ain't gonna see this, right? But just in case, right? You know, I wish you the best. So yeah, I guess I've said pretty much all I have to say, you know. But how do you guys feel, especially black women? How do you feel about this? You know, what's your opinion on this, right? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks a lot for watching. Adios and goodbye for now.